Hi van people, I wanted to give you a little update on the galley kitchen that I'm working on, and also want to talk a little bit about the materials that I'm using, because while they're gaining popularity in van builds, it's still maybe a little bit unique and perhaps not everyone has seen it. So this extruded aluminum is made by the company 8020, 80/20, that's how they spell it. And this stuff is available in different sizes and different profiles. This is the 1.5 inch material. They call it 15 series. They also have 1 inch. They have other sizes as well, but these are the most common. And they make these profiles in different types. So a lot of it has 4 slots, a slot on each side, and it's also available in different orientations like this. I didn't want to see the slots on the front of my galley, so this has one side covered, and then where I have corners, 2 sides are covered, so that leaves slots on the remaining 2 sides for attaching things. And I think it makes a fairly clean look. This is going to be covered up partially by my cabinet doors and drawers, but the part that you do see I think looks fairly decent. So the main reason that I chose this material is I first built my battery box in the rear of the van using 1 inch 80/20, and I had a really good experience with it. It came out really strong and really light for its size, and I feel like this stuff makes for a safe conversion. It is so strong that, I feel like I wouldn't be able to, I personally couldn't build something out of wood that would be as strong as this. I don't have great woodworking skills. When I build things, they're not square, wood splits. I have all kinds of issues. So I like this stuff because as long as you're careful on your cuts, it ends up square. And this entire thing is 58 inches long, and it's within 1/8 of an inch or less in every direction, and I simply can't do that with wood. So I really enjoyed working with this material. Now 80/20 also sells a number of different connectors to attach things to it, but those connectors are very expensive. They seem to be in the $2 to $8 each range depending on what it is. So I followed the lead of various people on the internet, but I think the main one is Dave Orton on the Sprinter forums, who showed how you can take a 1.5 inch angled aluminum and cut it and make various connectors to attach it together. And so I've done that. So I bought an 8-foot section of the angled aluminum for between $16 and $20 depending on where you buy it, whereas you could pay that for 4 connectors from 80/20. So I'll show how a lot of this is attached. The most widely used connector, at least in my build, are just little angle connectors. And one really cool thing about 80/20 is that on this 1.5 inch stuff, you can slide a 5/16 carriage bolt into the rail, drill a hole in the aluminum, and then put a nylock nut on the back side. And it makes for a really secure connection. So I have used almost entirely angle connectors, with some exceptions. I've got a flat piece here to attach one section, and I've used different materials. I have it attached to the floor down here using a pretty large piece of angled aluminum. This is using the factory tie-down point. I also did that back here in the rear to a factory tie-down point. And also what I've done are these rear legs are bolted through the wall of the van. So originally when I was contemplating my build, I had this great idea that I wasn't going to drill any new holes in the van. And that went out the window. when I realized that I wasn't going to be able to create like the galley and the orientation that I wanted, nor have it as safe as I wanted without drilling holes. So I've drilled some holes and I've made sure to paint the holes. I feel like that's a good compromise. So in the case of this rear leg, there's a bolt approximately here, and there is a second one approximately here. And each one of these, so there's a carriage bolt that goes through, that's attached. It's in the back slot of the aluminum, goes into the wall of the van, and then I have an aluminum backer plate on the back side to kind of spread the load. So I've done that with each of these 4 legs. I've also put a little bit of closed cell foam between the body and the aluminum. And it just makes for a really stout connection. In fact, right now the galley is not necessarily completely bolted down. I've put it together. There are a couple places here and there where I'm going to do a little fine tuning, a little bit trimming. These top pieces aren't finished out yet. I'm going to be working on the drawer slides next. But this is the start of the galley. As you can probably imagine, this is going to be a large cabinet door, and the sink will be right here. So naturally the sink's going to hang down, so I can't put drawers right there. And then here I have 4 drawers of different sizes. I do like to cook outside, and so I wanted to be able to fit the Coleman propane bottles in the bottom drawer. So the height of that is sort of based on the height of a Coleman propane bottle. So that's a 10-inch high drawer. I believe this one's a 6.5-inch high drawer, and then 2 4 3/4-inch high drawers, which are roughly the size of a standard utensil drawer. And then above the refrigerator, I'm planning a little pull-out cutting board. And then as far as finishing it, I really like the look of the aluminum. It matches the refrigerator really well. There are other places like the floor rails where there's a lot of aluminum in this van, so I think I'm just going to roll with it. And when I build my drawer fronts, there'll be full overlap drawers that'll cover most of it. But I think I'm going to leave a little bit of a reveal just so you can see a little bit of the aluminum. Just I think it looks cool. Now, if you haven't seen my battery box that started all of this, you can see this is the smaller 1-inch profile. And I had to do something a little bit odd with the rear corner just because of the shape of the van. I'm not sure how I would have done that with wood, but with the 80/20, it's really secure. Here's pretty much everything that I'm working with. Here's a profile of the 80/20. Here's a 5/16 carriage bolt. Slides in there. And then you take your connectors that you make, which again is 1.5 inch by 1.5 inch by 3/16 angle aluminum. Attach it like that, put your nylic nuts on. This is an example of the aluminum I'm using. This one's curved. Most of what I've used is the straight. It doesn't matter, but 3/16 thickness is what I've been using. So I've been cutting all of the material, including all my brackets, on a miter saw, and I'm using a non-ferrous fine tooth blade to cut it, and it cuts it really easily. And then here's some bar stock that I'm using to make some of the flat connectors. And while we're talking about cutting it, I'm not using anything special, just a Craftsman miter saw with a non-ferrous blade, which I'll put a link in the description that has details on the blade and the materials. As far as ordering the 80/20, my first 2 orders were from a company called Fastenal, and I had very bad experiences with them both times. I ordered a black anodized 80/20 in a certain profile that I was going to use on my solar roof rack. And when the product came in, I paid for the product, I got it out to the van, and I opened it up, and I saw that it was the wrong color. It was silver, which everything else on my roof was black. And more importantly, it was the wrong profile. So I went back in to exchange it, and they said because the aluminum had been cut to a specific size, they were not willing to return it. So I went back and forth with them, and they made it very clear that they were not going to return the product. So I'm no longer buying from Fastenal. I'm ordering it all on Amazon. I've placed about 3 or 4 separate orders through Amazon now, and I haven't had any problems. It shows up quickly, and it's actually a better price than what I was paying from Fastenal. One thing about ordering it on Amazon, I think the prices are really good if you're buying them in 4 or 5 foot sections at a time. Most of what I've ordered have been the 36 or 48 inch lengths, and that's perfect because each one of these legs is 32 inches high, so it's pretty inexpensive to ship the 32 and 48s, which I'm using in most of this. There are a couple of these top rails are 58 inches, and this bottom rail, actually I think the bottom rail is under 48 inches. These are a little bit more expensive to ship, so you'd be best off if you can find 80/20 locally for the long sections. I know personally when I go to do my overhead cabinets, there will also be an 80/20, and they're going to be 9 feet long. So in that sort of length, I'll probably see what other options there are for buying it. Maybe Amazon will be the best in the end, but I'm at least going to look elsewhere. So that's it for now on the 80/20. Thanks for watching.